Hey y'all. So, right, the video right before this one, I was talking about things I've said in the past that I need to make an amendment to, or thought forms that I had that I've been upgraded um, with. Um, and so go check that video out. But I did miss one very important thing. Okay? In that video, I was talking about not being at war with oneself, right? And that comparison is the thief of joy. Um, One of the traps for psychological suppression or things that are not allowing you to advance to the next consciousness is this idea of, I guess, the law of gender, right? Where you start doing the feminine versus the masculine, the masses versus the feminine, right? That has been a frequency that has been put out that has trapped a lot of people psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, because they get baited into these wars against really yourself. Like I said, a good way to break all these traps is by saying I'm not at war with myself. So anytime you're seeing that something is trying to split your wholeness, split your unity within oneself, a good way to break that is to say I'm not at war with myself. Okay, but yes, I have also partaked in that level of consciousness, especially when it came to not honoring the divine feminine. It's because I was on a certain frequency, a certain reality in which the feminine was being sacrificed in order for the masculine to rise. And I realized why I was in resonance with that, because I myself was sacrificing my own feminine energy in order for my masculine to be more dominant in the fact that I was doing more, calling more things into action. Because, like I said before in that last video, as I'm going to reiterate right now, is that everything happens within and then you see it reflected without. That's how you know what adjustments you have to do with inside your heart, right? What needs to be amended in the way that you think, the way that you feel, the way that you process, in order to create a different reality projection, right? Which perceptions are you allowing to plant seeds into your heart? Okay? And making those amendments accordingly. So, if you're listening to this, I have made a video before when I was talking about the divine feminine, and that reality. I also stated that once you become a woman, you become complete. And so, you got to be mindful of the things that you're putting out, because it always falls back on you. Okay? Where you have that thought form, the opposite thought form will exist, which gets us nowhere. Okay? You have to move in unity. You cannot be at war with yourself, because you both have both energies within yourself. Okay? So if you are going to make one more, or there's a hierarchy in your thought process when it comes to the masculine and feminine, you're no better than the thing that you're opposing, okay, or that you're fighting for. Now, I say all that to say is that you have to be mindful again of to which seeds that you are planting, and which seeds you are what thought forms you are allowing to call action to. Okay, in the last video I made a example about when I went to the grocery store, and even though I had no intentions on buying mushrooms, because I saw on Instagram, or I saw something external from me swayed my decision in order to pick up the mushrooms, I later on put it back, because I realized that the action that the thought form that required me to go forth in action to pick up the mushrooms was based off of the seed of lust, desiring something outside of myself. Okay, because I gave myself instructions, and the only reason why I wanted the mushrooms is because I saw somebody else did something with the mushrooms. Okay, that I was kind of forcing alignment with. Okay, so I put the mushrooms back because I had strict orders from myself. Okay, so the reason why I bring that back up is because there was the thought form that I had about women, and if you make a child that's a female, then you have completed you it's a half-baked thought form that if you created a woman or created a girl child, then you've completed, you've made some level of completion with yourself. Okay, this was just a thought form, and now that I realize that it's actually bullshit. Okay, so I'm calling out my own bullshit right now. All right, in where that thought form existed, I saw the opposite thought form which existed, where another woman who is giving birth to a son, her take was that since she's not giving birth to a daughter, that means that she has done all the karmic stuff that she has to do for her feminine bloodline, right? And then I immediately thought to myself, well, that's a really weird way to think of that. And then I also then heard, oh, you remember when you said this about the thing? So again, I'll be checking myself in this journey as well. And I was like, I got it. I get the lesson. I understand why that was a dumb thing to say. Secondly, all children are karma. All of them are karmic. Okay? Now, the quality of your heart and the quality of your partner's heart is what's going to decide what kind of karma this child is going to be. Okay? So, this is why you guard your heart. This is why you move with wisdom. Okay? Akonuche. You move with wisdom. Okay? Because all of it is karma. Any child that you bring forth here, it starts their own karmic cycles. It starts cycles. Okay? So you're just restarting that. Now, if this is what makes this young woman go to bed at night and feel good about her decision to procreate or create life with a particular individual by saying that, oh, because it's a son, then she knows that she broke a karmic cycle for her feminine bloodline, or at least she doesn't have to be tested, whatever. She assigned a meaning to the fact that she has a son by putting down or creating a hierarchy or a comparison or a competitive idea when it comes to having daughters. It's the same thing I did, okay, prior to this level of consciousness and correction, okay? So be mindful of that. If you're going to make a child, make sure that you're making that child wholly and solely, that it doesn't require to be in competition energy or comparison, okay? It is what God has given you, all right? And lastly, all children are karma. All of it. Okay? Now, how that child is raised, or what kind of spirit or what kind of soul is now embodied in that child, will let you know what kind of karma it is that you have created. Okay? So make sure that you are creating from a place that is peaceful. All right? You're not bringing any more soul's earth side that's going to cause more harm, okay, to the collective consciousness. All right, if you could help it. That's why you got to really study yourself and be in alignment with your partner as well. All right, and then those same subtleties that I was just talking about when it comes to planting seeds, make sure you're doing that work so that you know your own subtle fragmented thoughts and being able to catch them before you put action in them. All right, when you're conceiving a child, all of that goes into it. Okay, what kind of headspace are you in during conception? All right, were you in addiction frequency? Were you in a survival mentality? All of these things play a factor. Who were you? What kind of spirit did you have when you conceived the child? What kind of spirit did your partner have when you conceived the child? That is gonna be what you reap. All right. One of my elders say this thing. She's like, you raise the child that you want. So in a couple years, whenever they get older and you're like, well, what happened to this child? You raise the child that you want. Okay. Part of the level of consciousness that I'm fully inhabiting is this idea of accountability for your creations. Okay. Yeah. Children tend to embody what you are rather than what you say. Okay. Depending. So, and it looks different, okay, given other environmental factors, okay? So just be mindful of that. These, like I said, these subtleties and the thought forms in which we are now coming on here to express, right? Don't worry, God's got it, okay? We all get corrected, but again, the humility to walk with wisdom is to know to admit when you are wrong and then adjusting accordingly. And that is what I'm doing here. Okay, my feminine and masculine energies are not at war with ourselves. Okay, we are one and we are united. All right, we're not at war. Okay, Anything else? Yeah, it kind of reminds me of balance and like the sweet spot in the brain where the union is, right? The part of the brain that connects the left and the right hemispheres, right? Both have different functions, but they both work in unison in order to create. Okay? So whether or not you're having a masculine or feminine physical embodiment of a child, the whole point is that they're all karma. They're everything that we create here is karma, or is karmic. Okay? And it's necessary to learn lessons from. Okay? Whatever child's being born into your bloodline, they're there to help ascend it. Okay? So cultivate those children, your creations, with the things that you've learned prior to, and allow them the room to also teach you to ascend. All right? Children are the great teachers here, right? Um, Everything in this life has a purpose and a reason. Yeah, there's a Bob Marley lyric, something about whatever truth that has been given to the wise, right? I'm gonna paraphrase because I can't remember how exactly it went, but if you give truth to the wise and they don't take it, it would be then delivered to the babes and the suckling, right? The ones who are coming up new, okay? So like I said, your children are a reflection of you, all right? Allow them, you give them the nutrients that they need in order to grow, and then you pay attention, right? Because when they spring it forth fruit, it's for you to also gain knowledge and grow for yourself as well, right? Leaves fall from branches in order to nurture the root, okay? So keep that connection there. Just because something is karmic doesn't necessarily mean that it is bad. It's there to allow you to learn, all right? But some people don't like learning. They don't, because learning requires a great deal of humility. And if you don't have the humility, you're going to stay in an egoic identity of wanting to know or thinking that you know everything. All right? Anytime you go to somewhere and someone speaks, you allow your brain to learn. It's just that simple. Okay? It doesn't matter if a child is speaking, if an elderly is speaking. Try to pick sense out of nonsense, as my grandmother liked to say. You pick sense out of nonsense. All right? And you move forth accordingly, because sometimes they're holding keys that you don't know you need yet. All right? So, all children are karmic. We're not fighting. Masculine and feminine are not fighting. And we're moving in unison. All right? We are one and we are complete. That's it.